The Jamaican education system and administration were modeled after the imposition of the British system, which is roughly based on a response to economic, social, and political issues. So partly linked to the British colonial legacy, our own unique cultural identity was formed. So, what can be said about legacies? That it has a long-term impact on future generations. Thank you for joining us for another exciting edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Audrey Williams. Today we look at how you can leave a legacy of health and wealth by 1. Changing how we see ourselves in situations in order to help our mental intellect, and 2. Changing how we perceive others in the form of love exchange. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the news.
Check on your strong friends. Having gone through postpartum depression after having my daughter, I know what mental illness can be like.
You may be the one to provide someone with a haven.
Very much true, because like she said, you don't know what people are going through. It's also important to know within yourself what's going on, because you yourself know you better than anyone else could possibly know you.
Being able to be your true self is one of the strongest components of good mental health. You can whisper how you feel, or you can shout it out loud, but in whatever you do, if you need help, say something.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Friday, February 17, 2023. Jamaica and Canada continue to build on partnerships in key areas of interest to both countries. Prime Ministers Andrew Holness and Justin Trudeau held bilateral talks this morning on development financing, as well as cooperation on climate change and energy security. Both leaders were participating in the 44th regular meeting of the heads of government of CARICOM, which concludes today. Mr. Holness says both countries have already established an operational hub in Kingston. However, there is capacity for deployment and rapid response of personnel, supplies, and assistance in case of emergencies and natural disasters. Turning to the situation in neighboring Haiti, Prime Minister Holness says CARICOM continues to monitor and explore ways to bring a resolution to that matter. He asserts that there is a need for a clear approach to restoring social and political order in Haiti in the interest of its people and for the overall security of the region. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is advocating for fair and equitable trade for CARICOM members and other countries. On Thursday, he had talks with Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, on the critical role the WTO plays in this regard. Mr. Holness also shared the need for greater cooperation and partnership among CARICOM member states to overcome the challenges facing the global economy. Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith also shared in the discussions, which took place during the 3-day Heads of Government meeting in the Bahamas. Jamaica is pushing for greater regional collaboration in spectrum management to move to a digital society. Spectrum management allows for the successful use of wireless communication signals needed for internet and related devices. Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Robert Morgan, says there is a large percentage of the population in several Caribbean countries, including Jamaica, who are disconnected from telephony and internet services.
How does Jamaica, as an individual country, advocate for universal access to telephony and Wi-Fi and internet as an individual state? I suggest to you that it's not possible. The only way that small island developing states can have a voice in international fora where the decisions are made as it relates to how spectrum is technically manipulated and manifested is with one voice.
Minister Morgan was speaking at the Caribbean Spectrum Management Task Force (CSMTF) dinner held recently at Iberostar Montego Bay. Secretary General of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, Rodney Taylor, says the CSMTF is building consensus for the region's participation in the World Radio Conference planned for November by the International Telecommunications Union.
You know that there are things like 5G that are coming on the market. There are new satellites offering new services. And a big discussion on the technical level is how do we allocate frequencies to provide for these new technologies like 5G. Of course, things like Wi-Fi, the increase in usage for Wi-Fi, the demand for more Wi-Fi. How do we allocate more spectrum to enable high-capacity services on Wi-Fi, like the metaverse and gaming?
Government has allocated $50 million to assist the National Water Commission and municipal corporations with the trucking of water to areas most impacted by the current meteorological drought affecting the island. The money is for trucking activities until the end of the 2022-2023 financial year on March 31. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Matthew Samuda, says the decision follows a recent meeting with Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
He instructed that an analysis be done to determine areas greatest impacted by the current lack of rainfall. And he asked that we design a trucking program to support the areas most impacted in partnership with the NWC and indeed the local authorities, and that we give some support that carries us up until the end of the budget year.
Minister Samuda was speaking at the commissioning of the 50,000-gallon storage tank replacement project in Yorktown, Clarendon. The project was completed at a cost of $22 million under the NWC's Tank and Pump Rehabilitation for Operational Efficiency Improvement Program. Residents of the mostly agricultural communities of Yorktown, Howells Content, Bullard's Content, Hopewell, Parnassus, Denby Drive, Fogar Road, and the Four-Path Settlement are expected to benefit from the project. And finally, $1.8 billion has been allocated to purchase 50 additional garbage trucks for the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, in the upcoming fiscal year. Details of the project are outlined in the 2023-2024 estimates of expenditure tabled in Parliament this week. The vehicles are among 100 trucks that have been earmarked for the agency to improve island-wide garbage collection. The first 50 were delivered in December 2022.
We have made a commitment and we are committed to carry through on the commitments that we made to the country in keeping Jamaica clean.
While delivering his throne speech on Tuesday, Governor General Sir Patrick Allen said the NSWMA would also develop its capacity to transition to monitoring, regulating, and enforcing proper waste management.
This will include the revision of fines and offensives to make them more relevant as deterrents.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Let's take a look at how one theatrical production is using its platform to start discussion that demands for all of us to find a seat at the conversation table.
Around the world, 10 to 20% of children and teenagers suffer from mental illness. In Jamaica, 45% of teenagers have reported having frequent episodes of anxiety symptoms such as jitters, restlessness, worry, and irritation. According to a new Caribbean Policy Research Institute poll used to examine broader measures of mental and emotional health, mental illness may be influenced by several underlying factors such as working long hours, providing care for a family member, or experiencing financial troubles. Let's now lift the curtains on one man's life narrative to see how his mental state impacted the way he maneuvered life. It's a journey that may impact even you.
One fool makes many, right? So Curtis brings them in and they line up like little ducks in a row, and Curtis just knocks them down, right? How do you think we keep getting so many repeat gigs?
This play, it looks and examines the life and times of Donny Hathaway. That's a popular American musician. But not only was he brilliant, the fact is that the truth of the matter is that he had mental issues.
Despite his mental struggles, Donny Hathaway arranged multiple hit songs for various soul, gospel, jazz, and blues artists, Aretha Franklin and The Impressions, among others.
Jackie O or Nina Simone.
Oh my girl.
It's all coming through and then some. Curtis is the man. Yes, all from your production deals. We have to move to Chicago. I'll be arranging for Jerry Butler, the Staple Singers, and even Aretha Franklin. In my life and time, I've sung a lot of songs.
Hathaway's mental health improved after being diagnosed and starting treatment.
But why should we listen to a story of an American artist?
We believe strongly, we don't just believe, we live the philosophies of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey believed in a Pan-African movement where all of us that are descendants of Africa are related, and we all are. So Donny's story may seem to be an American story, but it's a black man's story.
A black man's story that disregards social status, color, stage in life, or geographic place.
In Jamaica, once you mention, that you are struggling, in that way you are deemed like, or maybe not much attention is placed to that. It's more like, oh no, just, sleep, relax, it's whatever you're dealing with. Maybe you're worrying too much or you're probably stressed, so don't think too much about it. But what are the signs that we can look for somebody that is struggling with mental health issues?
Sometimes when persons are in this state, we can see some of the signs starting to break through. Like they'll get angry easily, or they'll be too withdrawn in the opposite side. Sometimes there's some tremors that can happen to your body.
In 60% of instances of mental illness involving children in state care, psychological difficulties are evident. 76% of those cases involve maladaptive behaviors like violence, suicidal thoughts, and social withdrawal.
I played Yulela in Heart of Soul. I was Donny's wife. I was the caring type, but he started going through mental illness. I didn't know what was going on at the time. Well, the character didn't know what was going on at the time. She was supportive, but at one point, things went south.
And the role I played was a character named Benny, but sometimes went by Bunny. Whatever the reason may be, I'm still not completely certain, but I loved the character because it was essentially me, but a caricature. So the way I had to prepare for the role was I just had to be myself, but play it up a little. He was a sort of type that knew what was happening. He knew the ins and outs of the roles, and he knew how to play it up to his advantage.
I played Donny Hathaway, the lead. Well, the story is built around his life.
Through art and its storytelling come possibilities of understanding life's various obstacles and the struggle to overcome them. It could be as simple as resisting a harmful mental perception.
I was very shy, and when I should perform on stage, I get nervous and always forgetting my lines. At one point I thought he was gonna drop me and find someone else, but he saw the talent in me I didn't see myself, and he pushed me to get there. So now having the confidence, I'm very dedicated to this studio, and I'm willing to play any part given to me.
Theater is one way to do this, and there are many other ways to challenge the mind, such as knowing the difference between fact and fiction. You can begin by utilizing the resources at your disposal.
We have, for example, like forums. We collaborate with other agencies, other health agencies, to educate, as well as to we provide the information as to where they can go to get assistance.
Donny Hathaway returned to his room at the Essex House Hotel in New York City on January 13, 1979. Later that night, his body was discovered on the sidewalk outside his 15th floor window. The death of Donny Hathaway was ruled a suicide. He was 33 years old at the time.
To check on your strong friends.
Very much true, because like she said, you don't know what people are going through. And it's also important to know within yourself what's going on, because you yourself know you better than anyone else could possibly know you.
Let not your mind be troubled, and if it is, seek help. Our theater, culture, and art worlds are waiting on you to speak up, find peace, and inspire others to do the same.
He loves me. He loves me not. Aren't we all curious about what goes through a man's head when it comes to love? The answer to that riddle might be revealed in our next feature.
Typically, when you hear the well-known verse, love is patient, love is kind, it does not boast, it does not envy, and it is not proud, well, you know the rest. This verse, which is frequently heard when a couple exchanges vows, is meant to encourage protection, trust, hope, and endurance at the beginning of a new relationship. With this foundation in place, how does mankind view love, and how do men specifically perceive it?
L-O-V-E, love is patient, love is kind, love make you one bust a one smile. Me in love, hey, me in love, what me say me in love?
Love is a spiritual experience for me. It's easy to say God is love, but it goes beyond that.
And along with that, we have to understand that love has various levels of intensity, having to do with one being more caring, affectionate.
And you feel like the person is your partner going forward in life, and your partner in everything, not just in life, but your career and everything, and somebody who can understand you.
But not just that, but love comes down to how we display or show these emotions, which also means that love is an action word.
It's a sacrifice, but don't just take my word for it.
Whenever you use love, you have to use care. If you love something, destroy it, you care for it, you understand? Just like how you love your children,
I'd say you have to be patient, understanding, and just learning how to give and take and not be one-sided, because it's two different people coming together.
Taking the time to learn about your significant other is beneficial as well, especially if you want to understand someone in love.
Yes, I actually have been in love once within my life, and I must say that it was a very intense feeling of euphoria and happiness, and honestly it's something that I would enjoy doing again when the time comes.
At 14 years old, met this girl. She was wonderful. Felt the butterflies, and so, from there, we hit it off.
The person who I had my first child with, so we spent some time together, lived together. That was the first person I actually lived with.
The person meant a lot to me in terms of I had a lot of emotional bond with that person. Been with that person for quite some time before we broke up, 11 years to be precise. So it was really love that was there, but we were young.
After a while I realized that it was probably infatuation.
Puppy love or deep affection, the moment can be unforgettable.
I remember this as if it was yesterday. She came from Trelawney back to Spanish Town, and I saw this girl coming through church because I grew up in a church. And she came through the doors and I just saw this girl. I thought it was the Lord sending her for me being my wife.
It was the first day I moved into my home and she was my next door neighbor. And I saw her, you know, across the gate, and I was like, this is a very beautiful young woman.
Very beautiful specimen. The eyes of that female was something else. She had these little hazelnut eyes, most beautiful eyes I would have ever seen. She was as elegant and as pure as ruby.
And then I found out she was talking to one of my friends, and just like, yeah, we just know about that.
According to one study, people fall in love at least 3 times in their lives, and each of these relationships serve a different purpose.
Every time I've ever gone out wanting to find a good woman to be with before I got married, I always wanted it to be forever. So I think that's a big difference. A lot of guys just, sex or whatever else they want. And yeah, I like friendships that turn into love.
Be friends first, make good decisions, and love unwaveringly and sincerely. For what we need more than anything else is love. Because love is that gift that once you give it away, it comes right back to you.
L-O-V-E. Love is patient, love is kind, love make you one bust one smile. Me in love, hey, me in love. What me say, me in love?
If you're considering starting your own farm but aren't sure where to begin, we have a game plan for you. First, avoid planting too many crops at once.
Simple put, don't bite off more than you can chew.
You don't want to plant your crop and then struggle to care for and preserve it. Therefore, get in touch with your local extension officer, since they can give you the technical guidance you need to have a successful crop life. While your extension officer is on hand to help you through the process, you, the farmer, will have to bear some of the responsibility in the cultivation and the production of your crop, like having the proper land tenure, whether through leasing or ownership. Appropriate property access is key, and store your products properly, ensuring tools, pesticides, and fertilizers are kept in different areas. Also, there are several pertinent questions to ask yourself. Do you have the right equipment and tools for the purpose of cultivation? What about cash flow to take care of the crop from planting to harvesting? Okay, that's covered. Do you have access to labor, proper restroom, and first aid facilities for your workers?
For the new farmers who have not started planters in, we are encouraging you to get registered at our RADA offices and get on board, because we need your input.
Let's take a look at how one man who found his niche in the food market was voted the world's best innovative coconut farmer at a conference in Malaysia last year.
My name is Michael Swaby. I am a coconut farmer. The Coconut Industry Board had nominated me along with probably another farmer or two, I think, and I was selected to represent Jamaica. It was shocking, hard to believe. I didn't have an idea that I would be even close to competing with them. The most important part of it is to get the highlights. Business is a little bit booming a little bit more, and people are seeing what I am doing. Even though I'm hidden, I'm exposed. When I was about 17 years old, I left school. We came here. Most of the land was in woods, total woods, so we had to cut it down, and then after we cut it down, banana and coconut was the most feasible crop in St. Mary at that particular time. So we venture into banana, and then later we do both banana and coconuts. We do intercropping with most of the farm. We do a little livestock, chickens, goats, pigs as well, and we do like ground provision as well, cocoa, dasheen, banana. Those crops are very suitable to the environment in this particular zone in St. Mary. The Coconut Industry Board, along with CARDI, European Union, and SRC, they had a coconut development across the Caribbean region about in 2016. So we started doing some training, some workshops, some like looking at what other countries are doing, and from there I taught most of what I used to do and then start following the practices that they were teaching. So I started doing things differently from then. Some of the training that we got was to use everything back from the nut. So that was one of my basic concerns, to make money from your waste. So I don't try to waste anything. I do coconut oil, I do coconut water, even the very husk. As I cut, I pack them back on the lines of the farm, like further up in the farm, and I use them back for a potted mix. So we sell them back after they break down to compost, so we sell them as compost material. We have water in the center of the farm. We dig fish ponds, and we use that water when the time is a little bit not dry. To, as you can see, the pipes are in. So once the time gets dry, we start irrigation. Finding more market in those areas, like cutting the coconuts and pouring it and taking it to the houses, is a more viable way of selling the coconuts. So I venture into that area, into those markets in St. Anne's, and they are growing very well. Vista de la Mar, Country Club, the Palms, Quest, and Poolshade as well. So we're doing very well in those areas where we cut coconuts for the residents and so on. I was selected as a lead farmer based on the status that I had in coconuts, the production that I had, and the farm conditions and all that. So I was selected to be a lead farmer in my community, to kind of interact with the farmers, try to pull them in, get them to motivate them and all that. Every month we do meet, and we do have our regular meetings. People discuss, we share ideas and all that. So that is a part of the whole process. We are just learning a little bit more and more each time, so I think we'll get there. But we just need a little more motivation and keep the motivational spirit going on, which is happening.
To our future leaders, you represent our promise for a better tomorrow, a more robust society, and a branch of our success. Run the race and run it well. Continue to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
Are you aware of how Jamaican adolescents use social media? What do they do online? What do they post? Do you know if they are being harassed? These are questions you should be asking yourself, because it is your duty to keep your children safe online. Parents, here's what you need to do. Be active online and offline. Help your child to set up his or her online profile. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the different social media applications that they use and set some rules. Protect our nation's children and save them from cybercriminal attacks.
We've reached the end of our program. Get a recap of everything you saw here and more on our website, jis.gov.jm. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Audrey Williams. Walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.